Media Award, and welcome to my review for the Death Race Trilogy. I'm to all three films, so let's review Death Race. So from the director of Event Horizon and the Resident Evil franchise, Paul W.S Anderson has wrote, produced and directed this reboot of the 1975 Death Race 2000 starring Sylvester Stallone. This modern version fits in today's genre of films with the likes of Battle Royale and the Hunger Games, showing the bleak dark future of entertainment going to the extreme. The story follows Jason Stathem's character being set up for murder, and in case what you're thinking,
it wasn't me, it was the one-armed man.
Where in prison he's being blackmailed to be the new Frankenstein driver in the new series of Death Race. The storyline is super easy to understand, anybody can follow this movie. If you've seen the Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger, you get a good idea what to expect with this movie, but except it's a bit more modern. Our main interest of the movie is the idea that prisoners going around a track trying to kill each other with guns and gadgets on these cars. You're really interested into fun action scenes with Jason Stathem's character being our main kind of hero that kind of rooting for in a sense. And to my surprise, you get given some really interesting, really helpful kind of side characters, kind of psychic characters for Jason Stathem's character, trying to help him out in the prison and on the actual tracks by putting these kind of new kind of gadgets on the cars. It's really interesting, really genuinely pumped, and you're given these kind of cheesy ass villains in a sense with these kind of weird names, and they're just kind of stereotype characters, and some of them are so much generally quite original, like 2K and all that type of stuff. So it's generally got that kind of like video game atmosphere to it, in sense of like the actual presentation of it, of the actual website, and like Death Race season 5. It's got that really kind of action feel to it, which you just kind of sink your teeth into and have lots of fun. The film is basically a video game idea brought to the big screen. It's very over the top in a lot of ways. It's giving you some very fun and interesting villain characters to kind of laugh and enjoy, and you've got some really fun fast-paced action scenes which you just like, whoa, that was interesting, I want to know how they managed to do that type of stuff. Fantastic kind of camera work and cinematography, especially towards on the actual car chase scenes.
Oil and napalm and 30mm machine guns for offense.
It's on.
Now that's entertainment.
It's the type of film that you just enjoy on a Saturday night with some pizza and some friends, and you get given some really interesting characters also from start to finish, unlike other movies.
Fuck you!
Overall, Death Race is a fun action movie from start to finish that gives you some really fun, cheesy villains, some great action scenes from start to finish, lots of cool guns and gadgets and that type of stuff. You got Jason Stathem's character, a kind of main hero that you want to succeed, you wanted to win, and you're given a really good, interesting premise on the dark kind of bleak future of entertainment and how this kind of, society is breaking down and that type of stuff. And you got a really interesting storyline with his character and how he wants to escape prison. Not too bad dialogue. The acting is kind of average for a movie like this, but don't expect too much. It's a fun action movie from start to finish, so go and enjoy Death Race. I recommend also the extended version of Death Race compared to the TV version. You get a bit more character development, you get a bit more story, a bit more action scenes here and there, so definitely recommend the extended version only.
Race 2.
2 years later we have our sequel Death Race 2, which goes straight to DVD but not a big screen release. Now I enjoyed the first movie. I thought it was an over the top kind of fast-paced action movie. It has some interesting likeable characters in it, some cheesy ass villains. It's just a fun movie to watch on a Saturday night, and when I heard about the sequel coming out straight to DVD, I wasn't really interested, perfectly honest. I didn't really put my time and investment into it. I saw the trailer thinking, it looks okay, wasn't really sure how they're going to do it. Being that it was a straight to DVD release, I decided to watch it, and to my surprise, I enjoyed it more than the first movie. One thing I was genuinely quite surprised about, the fact that they had a big budget for a straight to DVD release. It really surprised me. Then I figured out a bit of research, and W.S Anderson actually put some money and some investment into this project. He also co-wrote this movie also. He had to go a different director this time around, but I was genuinely quite surprised how good this movie actually was. And when I watched it, thinking, holy crap, this is actually genuinely quite interesting, which explains why the movie is so well done. The story is more of a prequel this time around, following the origins of the original Frankenstein driver and finding out how Death Race came to be. We follow a new character this time around named Carl Lucas, who is a professional bank robber. He gets sent to prison after a failed robbery attempt and gets introduced in this kind of new wave of Death Race match. The storyline is a lot more detailed, has a lot more backstory this time around, being the fact that it's a prequel leading up to the events of the first movie. I think it's generally quite better than the first movie, being the fact that you get more interesting characters, you get this brand new kind of set of characters in the prison, you get this kind of new Lucas character also, and I think it's generally a lot more interesting than Jason Stathem's characters was. Fans of the first movie would definitely enjoy this movie, being the fact it's a prequel and you can pick up a lot of these kind of small references and little teasers, hints here and there. If you've never seen any of the Death Race movies before, if you're a first time viewer, you can definitely watch this movie, being the fact it's a prequel, and you can watch this then watch the first movie. It's up to you how you enjoy to watch it, but I think personally you should watch the second one first, then watch the first one. I myself enjoyed this one a lot more than I did in the first movie. I think our main character Carl Lucas is a lot more interesting than Jason Stathem's character was. I think he's got a lot more of a fleshed out character. I like his backstory. I think it's a lot more interesting how he gets involved with the Death Race instead of being blackmailed like the first movie was. I especially enjoyed the subplot also of Sean Bean's character trying to kill Carl Lucas in prison for failing the actual robbery, and I like these. You also get given these two helpful kind of psychic characters, one of which was in the first movie also. And I like the way the story sets up the kind of the Frankenstein driver and the whole kind of Death Race series and how it kind of took off and how it developed since the beginning of the movie, leading up to the end of the movie. I think it's really well done. The pacing's fantastically well done. Cinematography is really interesting also. The fast-paced action scenes. Being the fact it's an 18 certificate this time around also, there's definitely a lot more violence also in this movie, to my surprise. I love the scene where this one character is in the car and he actually gets on top of the roof, jumps into another car, slices the guy's neck, and he jumps back onto the other car again. It's just scenes like that are definitely worth paying off and definitely more. The ending is especially awesome. I found myself cheering along and I said to myself, A. Anderson, nice job, my friend. Death Race 2 is a solid sequel. Definitely recommend you go and check it out.
Death Race 3, Inferno.
The final sequel in the Death Race franchise comes Death Race 3, Inferno. Following the events after the prequel Death Race 2, with the same director back and Paul Anderson returning back to co-write, makes this a fun, action-packed sequel to the franchise. Once again, I was quite excited for this sequel after seeing Death Race 2 being much better than the first one, perfectly honest. When I saw the trailer for the third one, I was really surprised at how different it was, and it really surprised me how they managed to keep the storyline going and keep it changing, keep it fresh and original, not just simple cash grabbing. I was genuinely quite excited for this movie, and I was looking forward to seeing it when it finally came out, and they did early on this year. I watched it, and I absolutely loved it. It was a great sequel, exactly like the first two movies. Fun action-packed sequences, with the Death Race. They made it different, they made it change, and it was a welcome addition to the franchise, and it was a great finale to the actual Death Race trilogy, and it works really well as 2, 3, and 1. A quality sequel, and I think people that like the first two movies definitely going to enjoy this third movie. The storyline follows Carl Lucas from Death Race 2 as the Frankenstein driver. He's on his final match. He's got one more match to win in this Death Race series, and he gets set free from prison along with his psychic characters. But this time, when a rich billionaire actually buys the Death Race franchise, he wants to expand this kind of idea of this Death Race, not just putting it in a prison environment, but expanding it all over the world. And he basically sends our characters, our Frankenstein character and our psychics, to South Africa to race in this new series of Death Race within the deserts. The story has a lot more detail, being the fact that it continues on from the events of Death Race 2, leading on to the actual first movie again. It's a really good job in wrapping up these characters and wrapping up this final chapter in the Death Race franchise, leading into the first movie with little hints and references here and there. It's a really great, interesting take. It explores more into the actual depths of the Frankenstein character himself and how this character can be more than just one person. It can be multiple people in a sense. I really like the idea of that. I really like how the ideas it explores in the movie, and it kind of ends it really nicely. And basically, by the end of the movie, you're smiling all the way through, and it's really satisfying. It's really, it's a really good, satisfying ending, which you think, yeah, that was really good. I really enjoyed that, and you're basically ready for more Death Race in a sense. It's a really great payoff from these characters, and it's not just all doom and gloom kind of thing. And there's a bit of charm, a bit of comedy to it, and you kind of thinking, yeah, that was really good. I especially like the writing in this movie also. I like the fact that he's kind of mixed up a little bit, and he's put into these kind of South Africa hot deserts, and then these kind of prison kind of grindy kind of places. He's managed to open up this entire world, openscape, which allows for more cinematography angles, which allows for more kind of interesting ideas putting forth, and kind of really kind of doom boggies in a sense. And I really like the idea of the kind of sand and these kind of really interesting ideas, and it's really well done. So fair play Anderson for making it a lot more different and giving us something a bit more different this time around. Heavily references on the second movie and the first movie, but again, if you have not seen any of the Death Race movies and you watch this completely blindly, you can still enjoy it just for the action scenes. You can still enjoy it for the characters, and it does explain at the start of the movie a little bit to what happened in the second movie, and of course it leads on to the first movie yet again. So again, you can watch all three movies without watching any of those completely blind. This is a well done, solid sequel. It gives you everything that I enjoy about Death Race movies. Fun, action-packed, fast-paced scenes, lots of really cool guns and gadgets and these kind of doom buggies. And I really like the environments, and I really like the camera work with the kind of these chases. It's really intense, really interesting. And again, being the fact this is an 18 certificate, a lot more violence, a lot more kind of nasty deaths in some scenes, a lot more violence and blood and type of stuff. So really interesting, and expands on the entire world of this kind of dark, bleak future. I really like some of the segments in this movie where it shows you can actually pay an extra $30 in a sense to see the actual inside camera of these kind of Death Race, your favorite Death Race challengers and drivers in a sense. I really like the idea that it kind of explores the world of how, you know, dark and gritty, you know, dark and grim we're becoming as an actual culture in a sense, and how we need to, you know, watch this entertainment and, you know, to feel a sense of, you know, satisfaction and stuff. I really like how it explores upon that even more still. I really like the kind of, you know, the typical setup is going to be, you know, Frankenstein first place and all that type of stuff, and how it kind of, you know, rewinds the playback, you know, of certain, you know, characters being killed off in some of in these kind of segments and stuff. Really interesting, really well done. I recommend this sequel. If you're a fan of car chase movies and violence, this whole idea of the kind of bleak entertainment future in a sense, then definitely recommend it. It's definitely very similar tones. You know, the Death Race trilogy is definitely fun, action-packed movies. The later ones, the actual straight to DVD ones, are more entertaining in terms of, you know, violence, in terms of characters, and I think it gives you a little bit more than the first one does. But I think all three movies have done really, really well. So that's been my review of the Death Race trilogy. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Have you seen any of the Death Race movies? What did you think of the movies? Or what is your favourite movie out of all of them? Love to know your opinions. Comment down below. Love to know your opinions, of course. So meantime, Andrew T. Signing out.